Hello and welcome to Self-Published, the totally regular web show where we review self-published books on the internet.
I'm more regular than this show is. This time we will be reviewing A Gronking to Remember by Lacey Noonan. That's right, Rob Gronkowski erotica. We aren't meaning to do erotica each time. It just happens that erotica happens to have the best titles.
When you stumble across a book that's called A Gronking to Remember, you're not going to pass that up.
Yes, I'm going to read Rob Gronkowski erotica because the fact that it exists is amazing. It really is.
Basically, we open up on a late 30s housewife named Leigh who is married to Dan. And I guess their marriage is, it's not doing so hot. She is not real happy that Dan spends all his time drinking, watching football. He always has his friends over. Dan's got a set of generically named friends
That she can't remember.
So she's like, there's probably a Chad, a Brad.
Brad or Chad, Greg or Craig. You know if that was a guy, wife would be losing her mind if you don't know
That's true.
her friends' names.
Yep.
But it's okay for Leigh.
Leigh wanders into the room while her husband and all his friends are watching football when she sees Rob Gronkowski score a touchdown and spike the ball. So it goes flying up in the air. And all of a sudden, Leigh is
overcome with orgasm.
She sits down on the couch and she's hoping to see more of Rob Gronkowski. And she doesn't really get to see more, so she sneaks up into Dan's office.
And starts YouTubing Rob Gronkowski spiking the ball.
She finds a video and just takes off her pants and starts going at it right there.
Furiously.
I'd like to read an excerpt now from one of her run-ins with Rob Gronkowski spiking the ball on TV. F***ing I was turned on and tuned up since 6 a.m. when I sat up bolt upright in bed next to snoozing husband Dan, stretching my 8 fingers and 2 thumbs for some serious hitchhiking up and down the Massachusetts Turnpike.
She has like the weirdest...
So good.
Gronkalish, she refers to him at one point as well. Next Sunday comes and she's just excited because now she gets to come. And she's on the couch next to her husband.
With a blanket.
With a quilt over herself. And Gronk does his thing and she starts to double click her mouse.
She's going at it.
And nobody knows what's going on. It's like maybe the smell of beer and fart and man was just completely overpowering. But I really think you know when someone's masturbating next to you.
There was a smidge of Connecticut down near New York City that rooted for New York teams. A dirty little smidge, like the chocolate brown star on the body of an otherwise milky white goddess.
What does that even mean?
That's so good.
This is when she goes upstairs.
Her husband Dan comes in drunk, and she just wants him right
She just tries to jump his bones.
And she's like, come on, be my Gronkowski.
Gronk me, Gronk me.
Gronk me good.
Gronk me good. Dan freaks the out, hammered.
He doesn't like this at all. He's like, I don't know what your deal is. And he storms out of the bedroom and gets into the car, and he pulls out of the driveway at 100 miles an hour.
And just backs into the driveway across the street.
And hits their neighbor's car.
He gets kicked out of the house. She starts having trouble sleeping, where I would like to pull up the weirdest quote. I had been in bed for almost 2 hours trying to sleep. Sandman would not unload his sandy cum into my bloodshot eyes. Why would you need to make that allegory so filthy? Why? I realize it's erotica, even though there isn't a lot of sex going on. It's pretty much mostly masturbation.
Yeah.
Like, no one would want to read a book about a dude jerking off everywhere.
Well, yeah, think about it if this was written in the reverse perspective, like you're obsessed with Christy Yamaguchi, or I don't know. That was my first go-to. Who's the girl that drives race cars?
Danica Patrick.
You're obsessed with Danica Patrick, and you're like rubbing
Every
one
time
out.
she crosses the finish line, so do you.
Like, if you publish that,
no.
What would people think?
About how, this guy just jerks off all the time.
In public, yeah, just around other people. In a room of women, he's just jerking off under the blanket.
At the baby shower?
It would not fly. So Leigh and Dan are kind of broken up. He's out of the house. He calls her, and she's like, well, I'll take you back under one condition. if you take me to see Gronkowski. So he agrees, and they go to a Pats game where Leigh just wants to go home. She does not like the atmosphere of the football game. And Dan grabs her. He says no, and they hop over the fence.
Yeah, because they're sitting behind the end zone on one side of the field, like 10 rows up.
And on the field, Gronk is coming down. He's about to score a touchdown.
Which is what Gronkowski does. He just knocks motherfuckers over because he's this giant human being.
Gronk on a Gronk.
Gronk got a Gronk.
Dan grabs Leigh and pulls her
They tumble.
over.
Yeah, I guess I pictured him more like grabbing onto her and then just like jumping out of a plane kind of thing.
So they go down to the field and they're pushing through the people as Gronk is coming to score a touchdown. And Dan throws her?
Yeah, so Gronk scores the touchdown, and right as he starts to do the Gronk Spike, he throws Leigh into the end zone, and she starts somersaulting.
Yeah.
And right when they spikes the ball, comes right down, right into her butthole, literally. Gronkowski spikes the ball right into Leigh's butthole.
Setting off an instant orgasm.
And she just... Dan has amazing timing, apparently, because he's like, all right. He like calculated the velocity and force that he needs to huck his wife and how long it's going to take Gronkowski to spike that football down just in time for it to nail her right in her chocolate starfish.
So she is having the most intense orgasm of her life on national television.
And makes eye contact with Gronk. So they're getting escorted off the field. And they become internet sensations. This is how this story ends.
Dan has saved their marriage through this little
stunt,
I guess.
I don't know, what do you call it?
Lacey Noonan, the author, manages to drop her own Twitter handle in her book.
Yep.
She's like, oh, I loved the nickname @Lacey Noonan gave me. It's like, really? And that's basically it, except for the last page, which is a preview for the next book.
Yeah, she goes to a dungeon. She gets kidnapped by Chad,
Chad,
right?
who is one of Dan's friend, kidnaps her and takes her to Chadmiral's quarters.
Yes, the Chadmiral's quarters.
And
wants to be called the Chadmiral.
All right, so how would you rate this? How many Super Bowl trophies would you give this book?
I'm going to give this only 2 out of 5 Gronks.
Okay.
For erotica, I mean...
Yeah, this was all Leigh just kind of masturbating.
And it wasn't that hot.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading it and didn't have an erection, so I think as erotica, it failed.
Like 0 out of 5 Bob erections then.
Yeah. Well, you know.
I would give this 4 out of 5 Gronks.
4 out of 5.
Because it was so absurd that I really enjoyed it. Like her description of that Sandman line, a couple of the lines we read. The cherry on top was Gronk. Her somersaulting just in the right position for Gronk to spike the ball into her butt. 4 out of 5 Gronks for me. I think we'll make an effort next book not to read erotica.
Yes. If you have suggestions of short stories we prefer just because they're quicker, please leave them in the comments below.